What's up? It's Pete Thorne, and I'm here at Gearfest at Sweetwater 2022, having a good time. Something that I really wanted to do was stop by the Shure booth here and talk to the nice folks from Sweetwater and Shure about, this is my friend Paul, by the way, and I wanted to talk about wireless. I've been a long-time user and advocate for Shure Wireless. Now, I've used other wireless systems in the past, but for various reasons, when I would travel to, say, France or to Japan on tour, to different places on tour, like, wireless doesn't work all over the world many times. And they would say, oh no, you can't use that wireless here. Like, my local crew or techs, they say, we got to rent a wireless for you. And I would maybe be dismayed, oh no, I want to use my wireless, but you can't all over the world with many wireless systems because of frequencies and laws and regulations in different countries. They would rent me wirelesses and they would always be Shure. And lo and behold, I discovered they sound great, they work great, I never had dropouts, I never had problems. So sort of through it being shown to me and through default, I became a real advocate for Shure Wireless because it's just like rock solid. Working in France, working in Japan, one of the biggest stages ever, I think it was the biggest stage ever constructed in Japan. I did a show there in 2015. It was 200 meters wide with a catwalk that took about, like, if you were running full tilt, like 60 seconds to get to the end of it. It was just a massive stage, and I didn't have a dropout that whole show. It was just fantastic. So this was my position on stage, where I was set up with my wireless receiver in a rack behind me. And you think, I've got to be able to run all the way to the end of that catwalk, straight out, and then also straight left and right, 200 meters from one end of the stage to the other, from far left to far right, and hope for no interference. And then you got 100,000 people that show up with cell phones and whatever other TV and radio and wireless interference is going on. You need a really good wireless. You might play in clubs, you might play in church, you might just play locally, or you could be touring regionally, working, in a tri-state area or something like that. Or maybe you two are all over the world. What wireless should you get? Because you can go to let's say the Sweetwater website and take a look, right, and maybe quickly get overwhelmed by the options, because there's a lot of options for different wireless systems. It Shure's got a full range of stuff, going all the way from analog wireless on up to the most expensive digital Axient system, which is what I've been using, by the way. It's fantastic. So I just kind of wanted to talk to you about the various systems here, and we could take a look. So let's get into it and see what's here on display, and maybe we'll be able to answer some questions for you guys out there if you don't know what wireless to get and what will serve your needs. Starting from sort of the baseline analog system that you have here, I believe it's called a BLX, right?
Yep.
And I've actually used it. I used this on a show last year when another wireless I had wasn't working out, and they had this available, and I ended up using this. This is $299, I think, right?
Yes, it's $299 for a single channel system.
Okay.
Or you can get a dual channel system like this. So if you have multiple guitars, or you're switching from acoustic to electric guitar, then having a dual channel setup. This system is really nice because the antennas are internal.
Okay.
So you don't have to worry about them, sticking up all over the place. So it's something easy that you can put down on the floor next to your pedal board, and you don't have to worry about the antennas because they're all built in internal into the system.
It's exactly where I had it, just sitting on the floor. I had a single channel version of this, but it worked well for the show that I used it at. But it's an analog wireless.
It is an analog wireless, and so it's always one of those things where, a lot of people think, well, what kind of wireless guitar system should I get? And I always lead with, well, where are you? Because that's the most important question.
Okay.
A lot of people want to start with budget, and that is important. But the first question you want to ask is, where am I going to be using this? Whether you're playing in bars and venues around town, then that may lend you to one system. If you're going to start touring regionally or nationally, then that might upgrade you into another system. If you're in Pete's case, where you're going to be touring internationally, then we might need to step you up then to another system. So there's different types of systems depending on how you're going to be using it, where you're going to be playing, just for that flexibility. In Pete's case, where, hey, I'm playing in France, and this wireless system that I have is not, so we have to rent it. We have those options where you can literally go anywhere and play and have a system that's going to work.
So with the BLX system, this one that we were just taking a look at, who would you recommend would be sort of target users for this system?
For those people who are playing in small to medium-sized cities, that's what I would recommend. Once you get into the bigger cities like Los Angeles, Vegas, Miami, New York, those kind of places, the BLX is you might be able to get 1 or 2 channels off of it, but the flexibility of it's going to be smaller in those larger markets because of the amount of interference that's happening in those areas.
Right. With RF and things, and you get in a casino environment or
TV
something.
channels and all that kind of stuff. So so we have what we call the frequency finder.
This is really cool. I didn't even know you guys had this
on our website. So say for example, we'll start with some place like Fort Wayne. So it's a small city, not that big. So with a BLX system, you can get 8, 9, maybe 10 channels in Fort Wayne, for example.
Okay.
If we were to go, say for example, to Chicago, then you might still get 6 or 8 channels in Chicago, but the bands change.
Okay.
So that's why it's good to use the frequency finder, because the bands are going to change depending on what city you're in, what's going to work. You may say, well, yeah, my system works fine in my town, but then you go to a different town and now that band is not available.
Got it.
You don't have channels available in that area. Looking this up on where you might be playing will really lend itself to helping you find the right system to go into those areas. If we were then able to upgrade then to, like, say, an SLXD system, it's a digital system, not an analog system, for that same area. Now we've gone from 6 channels up to 22 channels.
Oh, okay. So getting
it's a much bigger bandwidth available to you. There's going to be a lot more channels. The possibility of having interference is going to be low compared to a BLX system. So all of our wireless, from BLX up to Axiom Digital, all has the scan and sync feature. So you push on the setup, go to frequency setup, and then you can do a group scan. And then it'll use the antennas to scan the environment. And then it says, hey, we're going to put you on group 1, receiver 1. There's 31 channels available in this group. So we'll hit assign. So then you just take your pack and hit sync, hold up your pack to the IR, and it'll sync that channel to your pack.
Does it give you a specific megahertz though, like 538.12 or something in there that you can see? Okay.
So I mean, we have our group and channel names.
Yeah.
But there is a megahertz.
It is right there.
Up in the top.
Right on. Okay. And could you tune that in on this SLX system manually without scanning? So the reason that I asked this question about the manual tuning is because with a lot of bands that I've worked with, especially like bigger pop acts that might have dancers and there's a lot of wireless going on stage, where there's actually somebody on a crew whose job solely is to scan wireless frequencies and find open wireless for everybody on the crew and in the band that day at that venue. And so in many situations that I've been in, over the past 10 years or so, I've actually been told, your wireless frequency for today is this one and this one for your guitar, and this one for a backup for your in-ears. And you kind of have to tune your system into that. And you don't have an option of doing your own scan. And of course, the reason is because when you've got, let's say, 20, 30, 40 channels of wireless going for everybody's in-ears and everybody's instrument systems, you could possibly have that on a gig. You don't want to step on someone else's wireless frequency. And if you're doing your own scan and just kind of doing your own thing, if somebody doesn't have their pack on and their receiver on, they could turn it on when they go on stage, and all of a sudden, the guitar is coming out of the bass amp.
Yep. So if you go to the frequency setup, so we have it guided, and where you can do to the group, you can go down to a manual frequency setup.
Yeah.
And you can go in and either pick a specific group and channel.
Yep.
That you want, or you can come over here to this and tune it manually yourself for what you want.
Got it.
The big difference is between our wireless systems, and when it goes from VLX to SLXD, QLXD, ULXD, is the bandwidth of the frequencies.
Okay.
So if you look here, for example, this is the H9 band, this is the BLX. So you see that it's a very small, limited bandwidth.
Okay.
It covers a few TV channels of frequencies. versus the G58 band, which is the SLXD. So
Oh,
it's a
yeah.
bigger band.
Yeah.
It covers a broader area. More frequencies are available to that. The G50 is the QLXD, ULXD. So it has an even wider band, can fit even more channels into it. And then your Axient system is like this G57 that goes all the way from 470 all the way up to 600 plus.
Right.
That's why it's able to get so many channels and be so flexible as you move from one place to the other, is because it covers the whole thing.
When I contacted Shure originally to ask about wireless and what I should use, the question was, what's your application? Like, what are you going to be doing? Where are you going to be touring? And I said, well, I might have some touring in Japan. Got a UK tour coming up, and then there's going to be probably some dates in the US as well.
Right.
And Axient, that's what I was told. It's like, you need the Axient. And this is the reason you need all those frequencies if you're touring if you're touring all over the world. There's always the option to go regionally and from a backline company rent local wireless from a backline company if you're doing a tour. But yeah, you get over to the UK and then you go to Japan. I mean, it's completely different as far as the bandwidth. You're going to be in different ranges, right? Depending on where you are.
Different countries have different frequencies that they allow. So, for example, in the United States, we're only allowed to use the 470 to 600 range. Or other countries have more limited ranges. They may still be operating in the 700 and 800 megahertz ranges, which we don't operate here in the United States. So that's why you have to rent a rig in those other countries because they operate in those areas.
Right.
But that's why if you're going to be touring, the Axient Digital is the best because it's the most flexible from going to other places. When we talk to customers and they're like, well, I have this rig, but I'm going to be going overseas. It's like, you need to talk to that country and see what frequencies you're allowed to use, because you might be able to use your system, or you have to rent something for use in that country.
Totally makes sense. When you take a look at these units, which are terrific sounding units and whatnot, but just basically have slightly more limited bands that you can get with. When you see an Axient system, which is down there, right? Mm-hmm. And you look at the depth of that in a rack, like how deep it goes, and also it's got a little bit of heft to it. I mean, there is a lot going on in this wireless. I mean, there's a hefty piece of rack here that really, it makes a lot of sense, because this is how you get to this. There's internally just a ton that's happening with them. I mean, it's a full-blown pro system.
Oh, yeah.
But sound quality-wise, if you're touring regionally or just touring in one country, I mean, digital Shure wireless is from one to the next, I think, pretty consistently great, right? I mean,
so the dynamic range that happens, because what happened with the analog systems is to be able to to be able to broadcast those radio frequencies, they have to compress the signal,
right,
and then expand it on the other end.
So that's old traditional analog wireless.
That's traditional analog wireless. So that companding that happens. And so you get a limited dynamic range. Because of that. With the digital systems, we don't have that companding happening. And so you get a much higher dynamic range out of it because you don't have all that analog stuff happening.
So great sound quality. I mean, all the way, going from the GLX style pedal system to this, what we see here, the SLX, the ULX. I mean, these all sound just terrific, I think, and they respond much like a cable, and your volume control works on your guitar in a very familiar way, right? And so it's like, you can rest assured these are all going to sound terrific. I think, the main thing that you can take away from this is it's just a matter of what your application is, where you're touring, right?
Yes.
And it's so great you have the website with the frequency finder at the Shure website, so you can go there and do a little bit of research and figure out what you need. Like, it's going to answer a lot of questions. It's not as simple as just plug and play. You got to go and do a little research.
There's a little bit of research, but we try to provide folks with the tools to be able to find that stuff easily. And then, of course, the sales engineers here at Sweetwater have all been trained in this stuff, so they know it as well. And then I'm Shure's on-site person here at Sweetwater, so I'm here to help answer any of those questions with the sales engineers and talk to customers and fine-tune what they need.
It's so cool. when it comes to wireless. Hopefully this video answers a few questions. It does just take a little bit of legwork and a little bit of research, I think, to figure out if you're trying to find the best wireless for you, what you should get. But the tools are there, and these guys are there to answer your questions and help you out. And I'm just like I say, I'm a diehard convert just because it's been shown to me through use and through just my own personal experience. I just haven't had any problems. The sound is great. The dropouts is non-existent. I mean, I don't remember it happening, which is like unlike any other wireless I've used. So like, I just like stuff that works. I like it to sound great, be reliable, and where there's no problems, where the boss turns around and look at you. Where's the guitar? Then you're in trouble because you're the first one they look at, not the crew guys or anybody on stage, or they're not going to be like, oh, darn wireless. They're going to be like, why's your guitar not working? And then you're in trouble. So as little of that as I can have in my career, plus anxiety. I don't like anxiety. Thanks so much, Paul, for hanging with me and answering all these questions. And you guys just make great stuff. And I like to support and talk about things that I really use and that I believe in, because it's a natural, organic thing, and I think you guys out there will like it too. So, and this is definitely that. So, appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Get some tech support on that table.